All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
And we are here for the Loose Wheels Show. I'm Andrew Hazlett, Ethan Ignatowski, there with you as always. Back at it for episode 40 of season 2. A long season.
Another week, another episode.
Another week, another episode, another great day to be a Sun Devil. How about that?
That's kind of crazy though. We've been doing this for a minute now.
Yeah, 50th episode throughout the whole length of the show. So this is a significant episode in terms of the numbers.
Sure, yeah.
So, getting into it.
And now for last week's race reviews.
Talladega for the reviews.
Was a thing that happened.
Yeah, it happened. You had the truck race, which was won by Grant Enfinger. And with the truck race, Ethan, I can't talk today.
You should relearn. It's kind of important for what we're doing. It's kind of important.
Kind of. I don't know. Maybe. But since 2018,
Tell me the numbers.
Every winner of the Talladega truck race hasn't gone on to win after they won said truck race.
So what you're saying is for Mr. Enfinger, this is not good news for his championship hopes if trends continue.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if anything changes. Parker Kligerman, he was the last one to win in a NASCAR National Series race after winning in that Talladega truck race, where he won Mid-Ohio, the truck race there. So
no truck race at Mid-Ohio and the remaining 3.
No Mid-Ohio anymore in the trucks, unfortunately. Anyway, Xfinity. Moving to Xfinity, Sammy Smith won, so good for him. He went from last in the playoff standings to first.
Funny how that works out.
Yeah, winning is everything.
Literally.
But, Ethan, front row man for Front Row Motorsports, Michael McDowell. He has 6 poles this year. He had the pole for Talladega, and he was a solid car all day. Suarez, he had a pass-through because of something. He had something in inspection, so that was no good.
Some technical issue.
Yeah, okay. I forgot what it was. When he was getting lapped by the field, he got shuffled out of the line because he didn't have the momentum of the pack did. And then he tried to emerge in front of B.J. McLeod, and he spun himself, got into a wreck. Real desperation move for Suarez. Not a good move, but he was able to continue. After the wreck, McDowell led again, then Justin Haley led for a little bit, then Ross Chastain, then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But it wound up being Chris Buescher who got the stage win, playoff, or not playoff driver. It feels like in most seasons Buescher would have a playoff run, but this year with a lot of winners coming from below the cut line, he didn't. So Buescher, Stenhouse, they were out of the playoffs, and they were top 2 in the stages, and then followed by the first stage, and followed by a good run of playoff drivers. You had Byron, Larson, Bell, and Reddick, followed by the non-playoff driver Chastain, and then you had the playoff drivers of Briscoe, Cindric, and Blaney. So, solid mix of drivers there. Several drivers stopped twice as a strategy, just not take more gas on the green flag stop. So, That's what they did there. So, yeah. And then Buescher led, followed by LaJoie. He had some time in the lead. Michael McDowell led again. Shane Van Gisbergen, he led.
Shout out to the Aussie. Or
he's a Kiwi.
He's a Kiwi. My apologies. Shout out to the Kiwi.
I think.
No, you're right. You're right. I had it wrong.
Yeah. Shane Van Gisbergen, he led. This is, I think, the first time he led outright on a super speedway. I might be wrong, but he did show some solid speed. And then on the pit stops, Truex spun entering pit road, which was unfortunate for him. But Cindric led after pit stops. He won the second stage, followed by fellow playoff driver Chase Elliott, then non-playoff drivers Kyle Busch, Shane Van Gisbergen, followed by the Hendrick playoff duo of William Byron, Alex Bowman, followed by Bubba Wallace, and then the playoff drivers Blaney and Larson, and then Chastain rounded out the stage points. And then at the stage end, Blaney and Chastain, they crashed with Blaney. He was unable to continue, and the 22 and the 11 were involved. They were able to continue with not much damage at all.
Mm-hmm.
Busch to the lead on stops. He didn't take tires. Tires don't matter at Talladega. So, yeah. He just said, nah. Then Allmendinger led. Then Cody Ware led. Logano led again. Not again. This is the first time. Then Allmendinger led. Then Logano led some more. Then Cindric, Austin Dillon, Todd Gillen. You had a lot of four-wide racing at one point, which was really awesome to see. A lot of these people were saying, oh my gosh, the package sucks, or the racing is gridlock. It's like, this is four-wide racing. What do you want to see? Like, there's people on the internet that are always negative. In, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, we're going to look back and say how great we had it with this racing. This is pretty solid stuff at the end of the day. It's not the greatest, but it's still a 9 out of 10 style racing. Like, do you want to go back to the days of the first Gen 6 where it was single file? No, you don't want that. So this is what you're going to get.
NASCAR is exciting when it's 3 wide, 4 wide.
And if you're expecting anything different, you're not expecting the right thing. Anyway, Cindric led after stops, followed by the biggest crash ever, which was pushing gone wrong.
Literally the biggest crash ever at Talladega. 28 cars were marked as involved.
I don't know if I've got them all on here, but here's the ones that I was able to get down. Cindric, Logano, Hemrick, Buescher, Elliott, Wallace, McDowell, LaJoy, Reddick, Bowman, Burton, Briscoe, Nemechek, Berry, Gregson, Preece, Stenhouse, Suarez, Smith, Jones, Truex, Hocevar, and Kyle Busch were all involved. The ones that had to retire were Hemrick, McDowell, who, I did mention him, Logano, Cindric, Preece, Burton, and Berry retired. It's just pushing gone on.
Logano had a quote about it.
With this,
he said, "The number 2 got out there a little bit more than what he has been. The number 21 gave me a shove, and I transferred that to the number 6. You can't see what's in front of you from there. He got to the number 2 with a fair amount of steam. It's nobody's fault. It's not Brad's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's the product of the races we've got. Everyone gets more and more aggressive as the laps wind down. It happens. It happens a lot."
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad is something else to debate. I mean, I personally don't like the fact that we saw the biggest crash in NASCAR history. I know that there are some fans who go, yay, when we see stuff like that. That's just, in my opinion, that's not the way to look at it. Like, these are still humans at the end of the day. They're drivers, you know. You don't want to see anyone get hurt or anything like that. I don't think we should be, like, celebrating the fact that we are having crazy, huge crashes. And then the part if it's anyone's fault or not, I mean, Brad Keselowski in the 6, he pushed Cindric, and Cindric just looked like he got too loose or something.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski for a while, he's been one of the more aggressive pushers in the series. But one great thing from the wreck, we saw 28 cars, not one of them flipped.
True. That aero thing that we were talking about from last weekend, the aerodynamic improvements for this weekend, they did their job.
Yeah, great job by NASCAR. the stuff that they put in worked.
Yeah,
that's what
seriously,
we
hats
see
off
on
for that.
That's what we want to see at the end of the day. Great job, NASCAR. I know on this show I have bashed NASCAR for some of the things that they've done. This, great job. You get a
Credit where credit's
5-star A+. Good job. I think we can say they figured the flipping out. But anyway,
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
hopefully
Hopefully.
we'll look into next season, because we don't have any big enough tracks to have flipping, I would imagine. And anyway, from that crash, Bubba Wallace, he drove backwards to pit road because he could. Red flag happened. And then something NASCAR's rulings that I don't agree with. Very, very strange. They decided to tow back some cars. They decided not to tow back some cars. Seemed very arbitrary. Seemed very gray area. I don't like it. They should just say we're towing everyone back.
Mm-hmm.
Because in it was Chase Briscoe, his team, Briscoe was saying they're trying to tow me, and crew chief said, no, hold the window net up so they don't detach it, and tell them that the series director, Brad Moran, told us that we're getting a tow back.
Mm-hmm.
That's, from what I'm concerned, is fair game. Very innovative by the Briscoe team and crew chiefs to do that. But they should not be in this situation.
Was it the truth?
I don't think so. I doubt it.
Well,
but regardless of,
I don't know
they
about
shouldn't
that
be
then.
in this situation of NASCAR's not towing some people back. Let's just NASCAR tow everyone back. If the team can't make minimum speed on the DVP or decides, okay, this car's not going to make it that speed, take the driver to the infield care center. Everything will be all right. Like, we shouldn't have these officials making the decision whether or not to tow it back or not. That's something we shouldn't have, but we do have it. We have last week Josh Berry. He had 4 flat tires. Was all that was wrong in his car. They didn't tow him back. This is the fact that they towed some of these cars back, allowed these teams to work on them. It probably might affect these playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Because they towed. I have on my notes here is that Elliott, he was involved. I think they might have towed him back. Looking further, I think Reddick and Bowman were able to go on their own. Briscoe, I know for sure he was towed back. I'm trying to see who else I have here. I think those are the few guys that were in the playoff guys in the wreck that had to get a tow back. But this isn't what should be deciding things. Whether the tow truck comes and picks up the car so it can get towed back. This is ridiculous. And for that, Ethan, worn headphone users here, as somewhere in my backpack, I'm finding it, I have the Chicken Award.
Uh-oh.
So here we go. Squeezed it further away. So, but yeah, NASCAR, be better. Like I said earlier in the show, they have improved things, and they have things to improve on at the end of the day. So anyway, this allowed Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to lead afterwards, with possibly door foam falling out of the car, which is kind of a safety issue.
Yeah,
I didn't
can't happen.
I didn't see any thing coming out, but they saw people on the internet said that they might have. So this was in overtime. Stenhouse wins 3 wide, 6 thousandths of it was the finish.
So Brad Keselowski in second.
Brad Keselowski in second. And this year, we've had 3 of the top 6 closest finishes in NASCAR history.
Kind of crazy.
You can make the argument that this is the best season ever with all these close finishes.
I mean, I think it takes more than close finishes to say that, but I understand where you're coming from. It's pretty impressive that we've seen this many finishes that are that close. I want to say you have absolutely no reason to believe me, Andrew, but I was close to taking Brad Keselowski for Talladega.
That does make sense.
Would have got me a point, but I didn't. So I didn't.
Yep. So, yeah. Another thing is some people were saying that the RFK cars didn't have roof rails on them at the end of the race. I don't know about that, but if that
I mean, did they or did they not?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there to see these things.
Well, what are the people that were there saying?
Some were saying they didn't. Some were saying that they didn't have it.
Okay, to the people that were there, seems like it should be a pretty simple yes or no.
NASCAR said it was fine.
Then it's fine.
But Denny Hamlin said they didn't have them. So,
I don't know,
but
Jim.
regardless of what they did, that's if they didn't have them, it's kind of an issue. Anyway, into the news, Ethan. What do we got for some
And now for the news. Well, first up, we got Formula One shelving the rookie sprint race concept for this season. Could happen going on in the future, but we've talked about this on the pod a few times, how Formula One was looking at having a sprint race after Abu Dhabi for rookie young drivers. They would be racing in F1 machinery in the teams that, sponsor them. For example, Gabriel Bortoleto, McLaren driver program, he'd be in a McLaren. Franco Colapinto, I mean, he's racing the Williams anyway, but he'd be in a Williams. You get it. The young drivers, like Isaac Hadjar would be in either a RB or a Red Bull. Like young drivers racing Formula One cars in an actual race. However, that, like I said, is being shelved. There was a stakeholder meeting at RB's team factory in Faenza, according to ESPN, and at that meeting, the stakeholders decided to not go forward with it. The FIA released a statement saying, while the concept received widespread support, it was determined that due to timing and organizational constraints that the event would not take place in 2024. Discussions will continue to formulate a potential concept and plan for 2025. So, still on for the future, but not this year, which is disappointing. It would have been really fun to see. I mean, I guess I understand that there's not too much time to plan it from happening, but it would just be another thing on the end of the weekend. I don't think it's that, serious of a situation that it would take, super long to formulate a concept and plan, whatever that means. I mean, you're already there. The drivers are already there. The cars are already there. You already have marshals. You already have everything you need. I'm not exactly sure what they were missing, but hopefully it happens in the future, because that would be a really fun concept, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have an idea. Ethan, you have not heard of this idea.
I have not. I heard that you had an idea, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't tell me what it was.
Ethan, I'm going to read you something.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Nick DeVries, Oscar Piastri, Felipe Drugovich, Teo Pourchaire.
Mm-hmm.
What do those 4 guys have in common?
Well, they are all former F2 champions, but not only are they just F2 champions, they are F2 champions that did not immediately go straight to Formula One.
Right. I have a solution for that.
Formula 1.5?
Not quite.
Okay.
What they do in IndyCar
Uh-huh.
is the IndyCar series gives scholarship money to the Indy Next champion, Indy Next, to run 3 races, and normally that the winner uses that money to get in those 3 races and normally the full season, because that's what happens.
Yeah, but Formula One just is completely different from a business model perspective.
Hold on.
Okay.
This is where my genius becomes. Gears begin to spin. Formula One gets its own team and runs it for 3 races.
Mm-hmm.
Monaco, because it's the crown jewel of them all.
Please not Monaco. Anywhere but Monaco.
Monaco would help make the racing more interesting, but Monaco
nothing is going to make the Monaco racing experience more interesting except somehow being able to make the track wider, which is impossible, or making the cars significantly smaller, which isn't happening anytime soon.
But my point is Monaco is the quote unquote crown jewel of Formula One, most prestigious race. That's why you put a young driver in a car for that race.
Okay.
And then I'm thinking Spain.
Why Spain?
Because it's a road. That's just a random one. Actually, I don't want Spain. I want Japan because it's an Asian race. We have a European race. We need an Asian race. And we're also going to go with a North American race, a Western Hemisphere race with COTA. So we have those 3 races all throughout in the season schedule.
Disrespectful to Sao Paulo.
Well, I want COTA because I do.
This is your scenario.
This is my scenario. You put the Formula 2 champion, if he doesn't get a ride in Formula 1, in those 3 races, get Formula 1 to run a team, doesn't compete for points. He's just there to say, okay, I can run with you big boys. I'm good, and I'm proving it. Because the problem is these F1 teams, they don't want to pick these guys up off the street. I don't know why. They just don't.
Well, because there's only so many seats. There's only
seats, but they stick around. We have Valtteri Bottas in a car these days. I like Valtteri Bottas.
He's a perfectly fine driver.
He's fine. You have Kevin Magnussen. I don't think Kevin Magnussen. Some of these guys shouldn't be there. That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree. I mean, Kevin Magnussen is being replaced for next year for a reason. That's true.
My point of it, at the end of the day, it gives these guys a shot, and when you give these guys a shot, they'll be aggressive. They'll be making moves. I think it'll be interesting to see.
I don't hate it. I mean, in fact, I kind of like it. It's just, and I really like it. That's some good thinking there, Andrew. But I can't see something like that happening. Unfortunately, I don't think that would ever happen.
I don't think it would, but it's an idea.
It is. What I think.
If Liberty Media gives me the keys, that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm saying okay.
No, that was. I make a lot of fun of a lot of the ideas that you bring to the table here. Shout out the Monza Oval. If you know, you know. If not, go watch our old episodes, I guess. I don't feel like hashing that out again. But this, you cooked with this. I like that idea. I do. That would just bring up a lot of questions. Who's running that team? Who's working that team? Do they upgrade the car throughout the year? Because if they don't, if it's just a super slow car that doesn't actually show anything, if anything, it hurts that driver's chances of a future in Formula One. So it's not the perfect idea. There's definitely a lot of intricacies there that would need to be thought out of. But just as a brainstorming idea, I love it. I do. That's interesting.
Yeah, it needs to be workshopped. This is something I came up with earlier today, but there's things that need to be moved. But I think it's a good idea.
Here's what I think. Not as good of a solution, albeit a much more reasonable solution. If a driver wins Formula 2, they are allowed to race in Formula 2 the next year, but not a singular season beyond. Just an extra year of Formula 2. Instead of getting cast on the sidelines, you're still getting your reps in.
I wouldn't hate that either. I wouldn't hate that.
Because it's a little... I totally understand why drivers can't go back to Formula 2 if they win the championship. However, it's a little silly sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're Gabriel Bortoleto or Isaac Hadjar, of course you want to win. You want to prove that you're a winner. You're not in this to lose, but it's almost the smarter decision to lose the championship this year, because whoever wins the title between those two, they're not in Formula 2 anymore. They're cast off to the sidelines and they're forgotten about. The driver that doesn't win the championship this year, they get a second place on their resume, which, yeah, it's not a first place, but it still looks pretty good. And then the next year, they're the favorite to win the championship, and they're able to stay in the conversation longer.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that that's what the rules have bred, but it's the truth of it. Sticking with the theme of developmental drivers and young drivers, unless you have anything else to add. As you might know, maybe you don't know, I didn't know, I actually learned this today. For F1 Academy, you're only allowed 2 seasons in the series, whether you win the championship or not. So
right.
McLaren's sponsored driver, Bianca Bustamante, she's coming up on her second season, I believe. That's I actually didn't check that, but that's...
Yeah, I believe it is her second season.
I believe it is her second season because she is being replaced next year. McLaren will no longer be sponsoring her in the F1 Academy. She is being replaced instead by a 19-year-old driver from South Wales, Ella Lloyd, who competed in British F4 this past season. She didn't have a great season. She finished 11th. She did get a few podiums, though. Got 3 seconds and a third. So, not the best showing, not the worst showing. She also didn't have a full ride throughout the season. She missed 3 rounds. So, you know, she was a mostly full-time driver, but she missed a couple rounds, which hurt her. She could have been probably as high as 9th. I mean, definitely at least 9th if she raced in all those rounds. If you want to kind of compare her to another driver who is in that F1 Academy series, Abby Pulling raced in some Formula 4 British races this season. She missed 8 rounds of the season, so a few more than Ella Lloyd did, but she still managed to finish 7th, got 130 points in that category, got a win. But Abby Pulling is kind of the Max Verstappen of, like, the prime Lewis, like, she is running away with F1 Academy. So, finishing that far...
You can say she's pulling away.
You could say Abby Pulling is pulling away. You could.
That's
a low-hanging fruit, Andrew. I'm disappointed in you for that one.
It's still fruit.
So yeah, maybe not the best measure of competition to put Ella Lloyd up against Abby Pulling there, but she has some experience. She has some success. We will see where she goes next year in F1 Academy. Moving on, we got some drama. Otmar Zafnauer, former team principal in Formula 1, team principal for Force India, Racing Point as they became, and then later was team principal for Alpine. He had an interview with the High Performance Podcast where he said everything, really. He mentioned how he wasn't ever really in complete control at Alpine, how different departments that a normal team principal would have control of, he didn't. He said, this is a quote, "There's a few things that went wrong at Alpine. One of which was I didn't have control over the entire team. HR didn't report to me. It reported up through France. The finance office didn't report to me. The communications department didn't report to me. And the marketing group and commercial didn't report to me." So, obviously an issue there. Not the most important categories for a team principal to control, but the team principal should still have all the control over the team. It undermines Zafnauer's influence and power within the team. And he also mentioned how he kind of got thrown under the bus. As we know, Oscar Piastri was an Alpine junior driver, won Formula 2 with Alpine, was put on the sidelines for a year. And Alpine had a chance in November, the year before Otmar Zafnauer joined the team, to pick up an option in Oscar Piastri's contract that would have kept him at Alpine. The team didn't take that option. Zafnauer didn't join Alpine until the next spring, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. And yet he was the face of blame when Oscar left Alpine for McLaren, even though it wasn't up to him to secure Piastri. That was done months before he got there. A whole situation could have been avoided, a whole situation he wasn't even a part of, and yet he got all the blame for it. So, I mean, if you're him, that's just so disappointing. He wasn't set up to succeed there. It's honestly crazy is what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, a Formula One team to act this way, I mean, it's not the first time, but just wow, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So go watch that episode of the High Performance Podcast if you want a more in-depth look of it. But that's just a little wrap-up on that drama.
I think Otmar was the guy that could have taken them to the promised land.
I mean, look what he did with Force India, kept them a solid team even when ownership of that team was in the situation that it was, you know, the owner being a wanted person who couldn't really influence the team in any way. And then when the Strolls came in, he was able to take advantage of those new resources. And say what you want about the pink Mercedes, but that Otmar Zafnauer-led team did what it had to do to become a very solid team in Formula One. You're right. He could have taken Alpine up the grid.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll never know. Moving on to our final bit of Formula One news, talking about Adrian Newey, who we're always talking about, it seems. He has finally kind of, I guess, mentioned explicitly why he felt that it was time to move on from Red Bull. He spoke with Formula One itself. Who specifically at Formula One did he speak to? It doesn't say. You should give your writers credit, F1.com. But anyway, he had moved on from Red Bull's Formula One department after the Japanese Grand Prix, which was like the third or fourth race this season. So he's been away from the team for quite some time. He has shifted his focus to the RB17, not the RB17 F1 car, a track-focused, it actually might be only track, it might not be street legal, but an actual car, not a Formula One car, just, you know, for the rich racing enthusiast to have fun on the track, that type of car. He's been focusing on that, which he kind of described as a side project, passion project type situation. And he's had a lot of fun working on that because, you know, he worked at Formula One, or he worked with Red Bull on their Formula One department for so long, it was getting stale for him. So he said, you start feeling as if you're going through the motions, as if you're doing it on automatic. Waking up in the middle of the night with a fresh ping of an idea was what he said about the need for change, how the RB17 kind of rekindled his creative spark. And specifically talking about the decision then to move to Aston Martin, he said, Red Bull has reached a good level of maturity, so in a way, I've kind of done my bit. I started to feel as if we were going a little bit stale. I think the guys also felt as if perhaps they needed to show that they could do it on their own. So I thought, okay, let's give them the chance and give myself a new challenge. So that's interesting because he does say that he felt it was time to give himself a new challenge, but it also kind of makes it sound like he was, in a way, pushed out, which is very surprising for a guy like Adrian Newey. I don't know if I'm looking into that quote wrong. I don't know if I'm understanding it wrong, but I think the guys also felt as if perhaps they needed to show that they could do it on their own. I don't know. I think that's pretty insightful. It creates more questions than answers, but I think it's pretty insightful. I don't know. What do you have any thoughts on that quote, Andrew?
Absolutely none. I think it's about at face value.
Okay.
He was bored. He left.
I'm reading into it a little too much.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so. But yeah, that's it for Formula One news. Adrian Newey was bored, wanted a new challenge. That's that.
Moving into IndyCar, the Dallas street race layout was unveiled.
Boo.
It's not
Not a fan.
It's not.
I'm just not a fan of the idea, even. But the track doesn't look good either. You can't tell me it does.
Starting off, pit road is a double pit road like Detroit. I don't like those. Starting off on the front straight, you have a left 90-degree turn followed by a quick right 90-degree turn followed by a quick left 90-degree turn down a somewhat sizable straight, and find something like a left, not quite a hairpin, but close to it. That's going to be, I would say, about a 135-degree turn, followed by a hairpin to the right, and then followed by something similar to the Istanbul Park turn 6.
Looks like a horseshoe.
Yeah, big horseshoe corner, kind of like the Sochi corner.
Kind of like another track in Texas. Circuit of the Americas. Anyone ever heard of it?
Yeah. And then after that full corner, you have a
Another hairpin.
No,
well, it's like a smaller version of that horseshoe.
Two corners. You have the right-hander 7, and followed by another right-hander 8. A little short.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at it completely wrong.
Yeah. Another right-hand corner, turn 9. Then a long straightaway.
Long straight.
With kinks.
Yeah, it's a not so straight, but it is still extremely long. I wonder how long it's going to take them to get down that straightaway.
Followed by a right-hand 90-degree turn, followed by kink right, another right-hand 90-degree turn, kink left, and the final turn, very interesting looking. You have about a 170, kind of like the final turn at Mid-Ohio, but more rounded.
Talking about 14?
14, yeah. Which is interesting. Very, very strange looking circuit. We'll see how it races. It feels like an upgrade version of Miami.
Doesn't feel to me like it's going to produce good racing.
We'll see.
Here's what I dislike. Look, you have a perfectly good road course in COTA in Texas, and yet you're making a street circuit. Street tracks are not that great. We know that they're not that great. There are some very good ones. There are some outliers, but as an overall, they're really not that great. I would much rather see a road course than actually on the streets. You know, is there any like change in elevation? Like it's just, I don't know. And a mile, it's 0.9 miles, but a mile long straight, like, what are we doing here? I don't know, man. I don't like it. I really don't. There's some interesting corners, but I don't exactly know where some like premier passing zones would be, like end of that super long straight, I guess. The two lesser straights, 14 could maybe be interesting. I mean, we'll have to see, but it looks like it could potentially be a spot. Besides that, I don't know. It doesn't again, we'll see how it races. We'll see how it races, but you have a perfectly good facility in the same state. Why are you not using it? Like, does what I'm saying make sense?
It makes sense, but you have NASCARs there also.
So?
I don't know if the track wants to
Of
events
course they
that
do.
close.
The track wants as much money as possible.
I don't know. 2 big events that close. I don't know. I think the better way to go is the Texas Motor Speedway Oval. But if this were, say, Denver or Boston, I wouldn't be so opposed to this because there's no road course in Boston or oval in Boston or in Denver.
You're just going to Boston to go to Boston or going to Denver to go to Denver. Then go to the places where they have good tracks.
Yeah, if you want, well, you want to tap into markets. You don't want to have all your good tracks because the majority of the Indy schedule is in the Midwest. I'd like to see them divert out to different places and like hit these markets that are untapped. And if you have to do street courses, do street courses. I think that's a good way to do what you need to do.
Okay, but in a place like Texas, it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. But we'll see. We'll see. I hope it's good. I want it to be good, but we don't know.
And then 3 IndyCar stories in one, really. Felipe Drugovich, Austin Martin, reserve driver for Formula One. He had a test with Chip Ganassi at, where was that at? Barber. Few seconds off Alex Palou's pace. Granted, hybrid car versus not hybrid car, so I don't know exactly the differences there. But a few seconds off the pace in his first ever time driving an IndyCar. Probably wanted to be better, but he said he was impressed with how fast he was already. Or he said he was impressed with the speed of the car. He didn't actually say anything about how fast he was.
Chip Ganassi does have an open car. I'd expect that to be filled by Kevin Simpson.
Yeah. Then sticking with
on the same day, you had Jamie Chadwick there with Andretti as well. I don't expect Chadwick to be in there. Andretti full with their cars.
Probably not, but she is an option. But yeah, probably not going to be full-time IndyCar with Andretti. And then they're going to be doing some hybrid testing at Indianapolis. Pato O'Ward, Joseph Newgarden, Alex Palou will be among the 5 drivers on track Thursday, according to Kurt Cavan of IndyCar.com. Seems like a guy that would know that. So there's that.
Moving over to NASCAR, some big news with this charter saga. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, they're suing NASCAR over this, saying that what you're doing is unfair. We don't like it. Personally, I don't fully understand this, so I'm not going to state my opinion until I have a full understanding of this.
This is a still evolving story.
Yeah, this is an evolving story. I think the fans should probably not go after NASCAR so much as they are, but because I do see the side where NASCAR does have a point of what they're trying to do is they're giving them more money than what they are, but teams that still say it's not enough, which it might not be. There's a lot of things that I don't know, so I'm not going to make it my opinion. I think people need to chillax on that.
Do your own research on it. Honestly, it's a complex situation, as any lawsuit is. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I know all the details either. But there are articles out there, and frankly, we don't have enough time left this episode to fully dive into it. So as more news regarding this lawsuit comes out, as it surely will, we will start to talk more and more about it, but just kind of bringing it to attention that this is a thing, it is happening.
Yeah. Quickly, I'm going to shout out Greg Biffle for his hurricane relief efforts in the state of North Carolina, using
Huge
his own
shout-out.
using his own helicopter to help donate, get supplies in. So great job for the Biff. Absolute awesome thing he's doing.
And now for next week's race previews.
Charlotte Roval, they have a slightly new layout with the infield. After you have your turn 1 heartburn turn, the left-hander. You have turn 2, the other left-hander. You have turn 3 and 4, the 2 right-handers, followed by the straight, and to turn 5, right-hander. All that's new. However, instead of turning right in the old turn 6, they're going to go straight. And then they're going to turn right, about fairly similar. And then instead of having a left turn 7 and then going back onto the track, they're having a hairpin turn, basically, where it's a lot sharper, bigger braking zone. We'll see what happens. Someone's going to get sent off. I believe Brad Perez on Twitter. Yes, he did say this. I'm going on here. Someone is going to get shipped first class priority Amazon Prime same day right here on a green and white checker.
Wow.
So you have that.
There you go.
Cup and Xfinity there this weekend. Cup Series, you have Shane Van Gisbergen. This race just got added to his schedule alongside AJ Allmendinger in the quali cars SVG in the 13, Allmendinger in the 16. Josh Bilicki will be in the 66. Also, Kaz Grau will be in the 15 for Rick Ware. The 5, I give you 5 drivers every week of who's going to be good. And in the history of the Roval, there have been 5 winners. How convenient.
How convenient indeed.
First off, we got the defending winner, Chase Elliott, or not. That's not the defending winner. The defending winner is AJ Allmendinger. He's going to be good. Road course specialist. He always is. Chase Elliott, 2-time winner.
There you go.
You also have the inaugural winner, Ryan Blaney. And then you have 2 other winners, Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson.
Mm-hmm.
In the Xfinity Series, you have there's always changing drivers. You have the road course ringers for SS Greenlight, Sage Karam and Nathan Bird. Bird is the word. In the Joe Gibbs All-Star Cars, you have Josh Bilicki and Eric Almirola. Josh Bilicki, road course racer. Eric Almirola, known driver.
Known driver. That's quite the title.
Yeah. Winner. Known winner.
There you go.
You have another road course racer for Sam Hunt Racing, 26 car, Ed Jones. The Sieg team, RSS, switching things up. Kyle Sieg, who's normally in the 28 and the 39. Ryan Sieg, who's normally in the 39 and the 28.
And why are they doing that?
They're trying to get the points up because where the 39's at, they're probably going to be 14th or 15th, and the 28, they can gain a lot more positions. So they're putting their better driver, Ryan Sieg, in the 28 so they can gain positions. When they gain positions, they make more money. I like money. They like money.
Mm-hmm. It's
So
just interesting how it's tied to the car number and not the actual driver.
It's card to the car number because teams like to run multiple drivers.
No, I know. I get it.
For-
It's
for-
just
yeah,
my
for those-
Formula One mind does not comprehend.
Yeah, for those who don't know. And anyway, 32, third Jordan Anderson car, Austin Green. He's ran well at the road courses. 35 for Gase, Joey Gase, Thomas Annunziata, another road course racer. He just won in Trans Am last week. Brad Perez, who was the great Amazon quote, he's in the 45 for Alpha Prime.
It would be absolutely hilarious if he was the one that got Amazon same-day delivery shipped off.
Well, that would be interesting. Preston Pardis, great road course racer in the 50. Connor Mosack in the 88 for Dale Jr. And then the 2 DGM cars, I couldn't think of their team name. 91 Alex LeBay great road course driver, and 92, Dawson Cram. Moving into quickly Road Atlanta for IMSA. This is the IMSA season finale. So I'm just going to talk about championship battles. If you want to see who's driving what car and whatnot, you can do that on your own. But anyway, GTP 7 needs the top 6 to guarantee the championship.
They've only finished outside the top 6 once. And it was last time out, so.
Mm-hmm. The 6, 124 points back, needs to finish in the top 2 and get help. The 01 Cadillac needs to pull, win, and get a lot of help. LMP2, the 52 Europol team, top 4 guarantees championship. 74 Riley team, they're 98 points back. They need to finish top 2 and help. And the 18 Aero Motorsports needs to win and help. GTD Pro, 77 AO Racing, that's the dyno car. Rexy, top 5 guarantees them a championship. 23 Harder Racing, they're 99 points back. They need to finish top 4 and get help. More help. If they finish 4th, they'll need more help than if they finish 1st. That's how math works. In GTD, 57 Windward, they need a top 15 to guarantee them the championship. And the 96 Turner Motorsport, 222 points back, needs top 2 and get a lot of help there.
Are my boys Korthoff Preston out of it?
They are.
And now for next week's race picks.
Anyway, into the pick points, Ethan.
Let's do it. Yeah, last week, Rajah Caruth finished ahead of my pick of Ben Rhodes, netting Andrew a singular point. And then my pick of Sheldon Creed finished ahead of Andrew's pick of Austin Hill, netting me 1 point. And if you remember, we both picked Ryan Blaney, so no points changing there. So we each gained 1 point. Gap stays exactly the same. I'm leading Andrew 323 to 311. Now, if we go to this week, we got myself picking the number 7 Porsche. Andrew, you're taking the Cadillac. They're hungry for a win. They're going to need a win.
This is their last race as this team. Ganassi team will not be that team, the team fielding Cadillacs this year. That will be Wayne Taylor with Andretti.
So Andrew's picking them to go out with a bang. Then he is picking the 74 Riley car to win an LMP2. I'm taking the 52 Inter Europool. Andrew, you're taking the 78 Forte car for
You
totally skipped GTD Pro. Apologies there. You're taking the 62 Risi Competizione. Wow, you're normally the one that has the problems with
and
the
you know
Italian word
and you know
there.
what that means in English, Ethan?
Enlighten me.
I laughed at the competition.
That's such a perfect name, but for a team that only has 1 win, you can't be calling yourself that. I'm sorry.
1 win in 4 races, and they did win the biggest race of the year.
Still. Anyway, I'm taking the 77 AO Racing car there. I feel like I've picked them every single time
Rexy.
out. As I got ahead of myself earlier, the 78 Forte is who Andrew is taking for GTD. And then, as I mentioned earlier, my boys for this time out, the 32 Korthoff Preston, my pick to win it. And then getting into some good old NASCAR, the Dana, that is Andrew's pick for Xfinity.
I believe, don't quote me on this, I think in every race that he's entered, I think every Xfinity race that he's entered, AJ Allmendinger has won each race. He's won 4 of the 6 races there. So he's kind of good there.
I'm scared now. Okay. 5 points to Andrew. I picked Shane Van Gisbergen, who I am very happy with taking. We'll see if he can put an end to AJ Allmendinger dominance, which could bore fans. William Byron is my pick at the Roval. If you listened to Andrew reciting the winners, you will notice that he was not one of them, but William Byron, pretty good at road courses, pretty solid. Andrew going with the tried and true Chase Elliott at the Roval. And that's that. That's the show.
Episode 40. That's Ethan. I'm Andrew. Do you have anything to say, Ethan?
goodbye.
Goodbye.
Have a good rest of your night.
And coming,
Breakdown After Dark up next.
yeah, but first we'll have Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett.
There you go.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.